Now, you all know that Donald Trump is a giant liar, never meant it, was a fake populist, robbed from the poor to give to the rich, and that in this case, it is the most literal thing in the world, not 1% hyperbolic.
As more and more wealth gets redistributed from the bottom to the very tippy top, I guarantee you there is going to be a mass movement that these affluent people who think they're gonna get away with everything are not gonna like.
Here we go. On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Well, you just heard the chants of the puppets for the robber barons of this country, because the House has now narrowly passed Trump's domestic agenda, which extends massive tax cuts for the rich and largely benefits the most affluent people in America while gutting our social safety net programs. What a big win. Well, for the robber barons, of course. Now let's take a look at the vote where it did pass in the House, 218 to 214. All Democrats voted no. However, two Republican congressmen, Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, voted no. Now, Massie is worried about the cost of the bill, and he's actually sincere about it as opposed to Elon Musk. And Fitzpatrick actually won in a battleground district. And so he's concerned that the gutting of the social safety net is going to have some serious political ramifications for him. And I think that he's correct. I think a lot of the Republicans who voted in favor of this bill will have their own reckoning to deal with once elections come around. But Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in my opinion, explains exactly what I'm feeling about the passage of this bill. Let's take a quick look.
I think this is one of the saddest days in modern American history. This is the largest. Withdrawal and ending of healthcare in American history. 17 million people in our country, 17 million Americans in our country are going to lose their Medicaid. They're going to lose their ACA insurance. Small business owners are going to have their healthcare costs skyrocket. And people are going to have their SNAP and WIC cut back. People are going to go hungry. People are going to get sick.
She's absolutely right about that. And we're going to get into some of the more granular details in just a minute. But the so-called fiscal conservatives, of which there are approximately one, and that was Thomas Massie, who voted no. The rest who claim to be fiscal conservatives, the individuals who railed against most of this bill, they were the vocal individuals in the Republican Party who said, no, I'm not going to vote in favor of this. It's going to add to our debt and deficit. They all caved. They all voted yes. Again, Thomas Massie and Fitzpatrick are the only two Republicans who voted no. Cenk.
Yeah, so we're going to show you why this bill is deeply unpopular in a minute, and give you the numbers on Medicaid and why I think that the Republicans just, cost themselves probably 6 million votes, which is pretty critical. So we'll explain all that in a second. But actually, before I explain all the different parts that are obnoxious here, I want to go to Donald Trump quotes, graphics 12 and 13 first. Because I remember somebody saying something pretty clearly. Here's Trump saying, we're not cutting Medicaid, we're not cutting Medicare, we're not cutting Social Security. Okay, so that seemed pretty clear, right? And then somebody asked him a question another time. They said, well, are you gonna cut Medicaid? And he said, I've said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. We're not going to touch it. Okay, so now you all know that Donald Trump is a giant liar, never meant it, was a fake populist, robbed from the poor to give to the rich, and that in this case, it is the most literal thing in the world, not 1% hyperbolic. Took about $1 trillion from Medicaid, and a bare minimum, she mentioned 17 million, that's a larger number when you take SNAP and other things into account, but just for Medicaid, 11.8 million people will lose their health insurance, verified 100%, okay? So 12 million people lose $1 trillion in coverage, and people making above $500,000 get $1.1 trillion. So they literally took from the poorest people who can't afford insurance or anything else, and they gave it to the richest people in the country. Did the richest people in this country really need an extra $1 trillion from the poorest people in this country?
It's never enough, Cenk. It's never enough. Never enough for them. Never. Never.
And since
it makes me sick.
Yeah, and look, Anna, as you know, there's some decent nuggets in this bill that the Democrats should have put in their bills. Child tax credit. I mean, Biden foolishly ended that after 1 year, and it cost him more in his polling than anything else. And this is why, is this going to affect people? The elections in 26 or 28, to me, is the real question, because child tax credits in there, eliminating tax on tips and overtimes in there, but it's temporary. The timing of the cuts is delayed a little bit, so people might not feel it enough in 26, but by 28, it is going to be an epic disaster. And
Cenk, I want to be clear about something, okay? I think the child tax credit is a good provision. I'm glad that we have a child tax credit, but I don't want anyone to be under any impression that this bill has a robust increase to the child tax credit. It does not. It takes the child tax credit, which is about $2,000 per eligible child, to $2,200. So please spare me. Oh, but there's some good stuff in here for working class Americans. No, there isn't. Okay, sure. There's a little bit of a tax deduction when it comes to no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It's means tested. It expires in 4 years. The tax cuts for the rich, though, those massive tax cuts for corporations, that's all permanent.
Yeah, Anna.
Okay, but the crumbs that working class Americans get, that's going to expire. There's all sorts of little loopholes to it. It makes me sick. This whole thing. Don't ever let anyone tell you that this bill is actually going to bolster the economic situation of working class Americans. It is not.
So that's an excellent clarification, and all that is true. My point is that those crumbs come before the 26 election, but they run out by the 28 election, right? So this is a rough assessment of the timing. It's a little bit more complicated than that because things go in and out in different times. But my point is that as disastrous as this is, the American people might not fully realize the disaster before the 26 elections. They might. It depends on how quickly they get hit and which category they're in. But by 28, there'll be no hiding it. And by 32, I don't know, 32 is so long away. Let's not talk about it. But 28, it's going to explode on the Republican. Look, Anna, last thing on the political side.
Who cares, Cenk? Hold on, no, hold on. Let's talk about the political side, which I usually find deeply boring. Okay, the horse race politics. But let's actually focus on that for a minute. Okay, so there will be political ramifications for Republicans who voted in favor of this bill. I have no doubt about that. And then what? Oh, it creates a great opportunity for these loser Democrats to get elected?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was going to go to.
What are they going to do for us? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, Anna. So the Democrats didn't deliver on anything. Now,
nothing.
This bill even took out any of the Green New Deal stuff that Biden had passed. So leaving Biden's agenda, like it had no progressive victories now. Any progressive victory that was in Biden's agenda has now been wiped out. So FDR 2.0 was total horse crap, 100% horse crap. They lied to you. But the thing is, voters already know that. That's why the Democratic Party had the chickens come home to roost. They keep telling you that they're going to pass bills and they never, ever, 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 ever pass them. So the American people are like, God damn these Democrats, and they threw them out on the street, right? So now the Republicans come in and go, oh, we're the populists, we're gonna help the average American. And then what do? They do what Republicans always do. They rob you and give it to the richest people in the country. So now those chickens are gonna come home to roost, and soon everybody in the country will be as black-pilled as Anna.
Yeah, I can't believe people aren't there already. I think that we are barreling toward I mean, look, at some point, ordinary people in this country are gonna wake up and say, I've had enough. And if people are freaked out over someone like Zoran Mamdani getting potentially elected as the next mayor of New York City, that's just the tip of the iceberg, homeboys and homegirls. Okay, there are gonna be people calling for a full-blown revolution in this country. As more and more wealth gets redistributed from the bottom to the very tippy top, I guarantee you there is going to be a mass movement that these affluent people who think they're gonna get away with everything are not gonna like. And I'd like to avoid that type of situation. But you know what? They have no interest in reforming this broken system. Our Congress is totally useless. We're talking about literally hundreds of people elected into positions of power who have the best health insurance provided to them by the American taxpayer, literally chipping away and gutting our social safety net, essentially stealing from the poor to give to the rich. I mean, how does that not radicalize people in this country? Of course it does. Of course it does. People are sick of our degraded living standards. People are sick of working longer hours, working harder, and getting less for it. I mean, it's just pathetic. And as we're having our Medicaid gutted, food stamps gutted, there's no debate about spending tens of billions of dollars on a freaking genocide that Israel is carrying out in Gaza.
Yeah.
That's what's really going on here. And if you're not angry about it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, guys, look, one quick thing here, then I want to get to the back to the essence of the bill. Look, now later in the program, we're gonna do a story about AI and how it could wipe out anywhere from 10 to 50% of new jobs. So there's also going to be massive unemployment coming soon. Things are headed in a very bad direction. And when that happens, people are gonna blame capitalism first. Let's keep it real. That's gonna be one of the things that happens. And so people are gonna be surprised at the severity of the reactions that happen going forward. But overall here, we had MSNBC telling you, oh, the Democrats are great and Joe Biden's 2.0. And then now you got Fox News and the all right-wing media telling you how great Trump and MAGA is as they do all this. Eventually people are gonna realize, oh right, neither one of them is working for us. They're both working for the donor class, and nearly an identical donor class, which is mainly made up of corporations. We live under corporate rule. That is why you keep losing under both Republicans and Democrats. That you have to pick people who do not take corporate PAC money. If you don't, that should be your one litmus test. If you don't do that, they're never gonna vote for you. They're never gonna deliver for you. All they're gonna do is deliver for their donors because that's who got them into power.
And it's amazing to me how gullible so many Americans are in thinking that the real enemy are Medicaid recipients. Oh, they're lazy bums and they should have work requirements. The majority of them do work. The able-bodied recipients of Medicaid already work. This is all about creating a bureaucratic system that makes it difficult for individuals, basically a difficulty in getting those benefits that they're entitled to because of the extra bureaucratic burden of proving that you are working enough to qualify for Medicaid. It's sick. And if you think that the poorest among us are your real enemies, man, then you deserve to have your resources robbed from you and given to the rich. Now, with that said, I want to just quickly discuss the pathetic Republicans who pretend to be fiscal hawks when in reality, they are just ready and willing to cave to Daddy Trump. So Representative Ralph Northam, a Republican of South Carolina who staged an open revolt, as the New York Times put it, but still ultimately fell in line with his colleagues to support the legislation, refused to detail what he was offered in return for his support. So the New York Times asked him, like, what happened? You said that you are gonna vote against this, but you voted in favor of it. He's like, oh, well, Trump promised me some cookies, but I'm not gonna get into details. You'll find out about it next week. Now, I do wanna just quickly go over the basics of this bill and why it's so upsetting. And I wanna actually put my cards on the table, okay? I am currently working, I don't even know how many jobs. I've got a lot going on. So I'm very likely gonna get a tax break as a result of this bill. I don't want it. I want my fellow Americans to be taken care of. I want Medicaid recipients to still have those benefits available to them if they're having a hard time earning enough income to buy private health insurance. Okay, I want people who rely on food assistance to continue getting it. To me, that is way more important than saving a little bit on my freaking taxes. And anyway, but here's what the bill does. So it extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts. It also allocates hundreds of billions of dollars for border enforcement. Okay, so there's that. It includes a child tax credit of $2,200 per child, but this is means tested. I should be clear about that. It does not apply to high earners. The credit is reduced by $50 for every $1,000 of income above the threshold of $400K per married couple or $200K per single parent. It adds additional means tested tax cuts for tips up to $25,000 and overtime pay up to $12,500, but it will expire in 4 years by the end of 2028. It also increases funding for defense and cuts $1 trillion for Medicaid. It includes reductions to food assistance, also known as SNAP, which are expected to impact 40 million people, 16 million of which, by the way, are children. But considering what we're aiding and abetting in Gaza, I wouldn't make the mistake of thinking our government gives a damn about children. Phases out clean energy tax credits that were passed under Biden. The oil subsidies, those will not be touched, of course. Increases the SALT deduction. By the way, this is something that'll benefit us here in California. And I still think this bill is a complete and utter disaster, but it does increase the SALT deduction from $10,000 to $40,000. So that means the state and local taxes that people in high tax states pay, like in California, can be deducted up to 40 grand. And it adds a $6,000 senior bonus deduction for those who have an income of $75,000 or less. So we're means testing our seniors, that's great. Some households will be able to deduct up to $10,000 of annual interest on their car loans, but that number does decrease for those with annual income of $100,000 or more. Notice how all of the provisions that are supposed to help ordinary people are means tested and they also expire, right? All of the benefits for the rich, those are permanent, and obviously they're benefits for the rich. They're not means tested because they're already rich. There are going to be limits to how much students can borrow for college. So the cap for borrowing, from the federal government for professional degrees, such as the education you need to be a doctor or a lawyer, it's capped at $50,000 per year and $200,000 for the student's lifetime. And there's also a lifetime borrowing limit for all federal student loans up to $257,500. The bill included a $5 trillion increase in the debt limit, a measure that Republicans are always pretending they're unwilling to support, but that was necessary to avert a federal default later this year. And the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, CBO, found that the bill would increase the deficit by $3.4 trillion and leave about 12 million people without health insurance by 2034. So make no mistake about this. This is a redistributive bill that will, again, take money from the bottom, take resources meant for the most vulnerable among us, and move it on up to the very top. That's what this is. It's disgusting.
Okay, so I want to talk about Republican bitches a little bit. So these are the people who pretended to, I'm so concerned about the debt. The debt. It added $3.4 trillion to the debt. And then guys in the House said, like Chip Roy, said, there's no way. The Senate better make this less debt. Senate added debt. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. What happened? Well, actually, we know what happened. Part of it was that Trump invited them to the White House. I don't blame Trump. He does carrots and sticks, right? I blame him for the bill. I blame him 100% for the bill. But in terms of the strategy of the politics, right? So he says, if you go against me, I'm going to destroy your career, end your career, like I did for Tom Tillerson, the senator from North Carolina. But if you come and play ball, then I'll give you tchotchkes, and I'll be nice to you. And you'd be surprised how petty United States Congress people are. Although these days you wouldn't be surprised. But when I was growing up, and still to this day on mainstream media, they make them seem like, these honorable senators and Congress people are so important. And they're the best of us. No, you know what happened? He started signing merch for them. And he's like, he gave something to Chip Roy's son. And Chip Roy's like, my son got a tchotchke. So he doesn't care about the debt anymore. Burchett's even worse. Burchett was like, no way, I'm not gonna do this, that, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he said I was good on TV. He was so nice to me. He invited me over and he gave me some signed merchandise, and like I'm so happy. Oh, you guys are such losers. Pathetic losers. And then 11 House Republicans signed a letter saying, we are not going to accept Medicaid cuts, right? The Senate added to the existing Medicaid cuts by about $300 billion. And they're like, we completely accept it. All 11 caved. Maybe they got a hat, maybe they got some Trump cologne, golden Trump sneakers, and those bitches walked out and cut the living crap out of Medicaid, and all of them should lose their jobs. All of them, okay? So when they promised you that they were not gonna cut Medicaid, and then they butchered it, but hey, they got a Trump hat signed by the big boss. You know what one of the things Burchett was giddy about? They misspelled his name on the placard when they went to go see Trump at the White House. Trump put the R in and then signed both sides of the placard. And he's like, oh my God, he signed a placard of my misspelled name. I'm relevant for half a second. And then he started getting on his hands and knees and licking Donald Trump's boots. I'll add any debt you want, as long as our rich donors are happy. Republicans have zero credibility on debt. None. They add more to the debt than anybody alive. It's not even close. So now let's go to the numbers for a second, Anna, to show you the devastation that should come. We'll see if they can, manipulate and propaganda their way out of this. But more than half of adults say that they or their family member has been covered by Medicaid at some point in their lives. I want you to notice the independent line, 29% saying they've been personally covered by Medicaid, and 29% said had family covered by Medicaid, and had a close friend covered by Medicaid is another 12%. That is a monster number. 70% of independents are affected by Medicaid in one way or another. But look at the Republican line, 22% personally covered, 29% family, 13% close friend. That's a huge number of Republicans who are affected. So look, here, I'll give you one more and then give you a conclusion on the politics
Hold
of this.
on.
Yeah.
No, I guess I want to talk about politics a lot today, but I'm gonna pause and just say something. This bill is going to do a lot of damage to Republican voters, okay? So if you're on the left, you have one of two options. You can go ahead and point at them and laugh at them and dehumanize them for voting for the very people who are gutting the benefits that they rely on. I would venture to say that if you consider yourself a kind left-wing person, you should take a good hard look in the mirror if you opt for that option, okay? Because you should never dehumanize anyone. Or the other option is to be kind, explain what's actually going on here, and offer up a better system. So we're at a crossroads right now. And the real question is, what does the left want to do? Do we want to just continue with the status quo of supporting a pathetic Democratic Party as a substitute for the pathetic Republican Party? Do we want to keep demonizing Republican voters who are going to be harmed by this bill? Or do we do outreach? Do we try to help people understand how our system actually works and try to build the coalitions necessary to finally break this broken system? Break through this broken system. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just we've been doing this for so long, Cenk. Okay, for me, it's been almost 2 decades. I am sick of the repetitive nature of our politics. We need a breakthrough, and we're never gonna get that breakthrough if we keep thinking of things as tribal. We have to do outreach to ordinary people, regardless of who they voted for.
Yeah, well, you know me, obviously I couldn't agree more. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of what my hope for it. So look, guys, of course Anna's right. You can go ha to people when they're down. I don't think that that's a real left-wing position to do that. I mean, you could get a little schadenfreude. I get it. You could vent. I get it, because we told you not to do this. We told you not to do this, right? We told you he was going to affect you and not just the others, right? I get it. But I don't. We can be better than that and say, look, they lied to you. Now come over to the side that actually is going to deliver for you. But if you're going to say that, you have to actually deliver. You can't keep electing corporate Democrats who are never, my entire lifetime, they never deliver. The minimum wage is at $7.25. Come on, they're a joke, right? So that's why I always take action. And people can say, okay, I don't like your action. Great, then take a different action. Go and fight forward, do something. So look, what I'm doing is rebellionpac.com, where you run populist left. And what that means is no corporate PAC money, and if you get in office, you must fight like hell for these. Higher minimum wage, higher, paid family leave, lower drug prices, lower housing prices, etc. If you don't do it, if you don't deliver, they're never gonna believe you, okay? And then we're gonna get into the situation that Anna talked about in the beginning, where the American people go, I don't know what we're gonna do. But these corrupt sons of bitches never do what we want, right? And that's a dangerous place to be. So let's do the one thing the country has never tried. Populist economic left. The policies that you guys actually love and that poll amazingly. So now let's look at the last poll here on Medicaid. Look, guys, 83% of the country is in favor of Medicaid. That is an unbelievably popular program, okay? 83%, either very favorable or somewhat favorable. But when you look at independents, the same 83%, overwhelming, they love Medicaid. How many times in my lifetime has the mainstream media painted Medicaid as like, some fringe program, I don't know, it's a mixed bag. No, Americans love it, they love it. The government programs never work. No, they love it, they love Medicare, they love Social Security, and they love Medicaid, they all poll over 80%. But look at the Republican line, guys. 74% view it as favorable. 74% of Republican voters wanted Medicaid, and it just got cut. So welcome those guys in to the best of your ability, and you might not get them all. Some of them might say, oh no, even though I lost my health insurance and my kids are sick and I don't know what to do, I hate undocumented immigrants or something and vote for Trump, the next Trump, etc. But a lot of them will go, oh, I thought he was against the establishment, and it turns out he is the establishment. He is a rich elite. He did deliver for his donors. He was full of crap. Promise them that you'll actually do something, and then do it. You must do it, you must deliver. And the good news is the next party that actually delivers to the average American is going to be so wildly popular because we haven't seen it in our entire lifetimes. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.